Our destination?
Birthday reflections.
Let's go for a ride.
Welcome to Girls Trip. It's still my birthday week.
Still your birthday week.
We're not done yet.
Not done yet. This is the only day where I kind of know what's happening.
What to expect.
Yeah. We did this
Just a little bit.
for Rebecca's birthday, and we thought it was just a great. First of all, especially being midweek, it's a good time to take a breath.
Yeah.
Take a breather. Okay, we're just gonna talk today. One of my favorite things to do is talk about
introspective.
talk about our lives.
It's kind of how this whole thing started.
Yeah,
So
that is very true.
It is.
So I'm excited
Full circle.
to learn a little bit more about you. To be fair, you did get these questions ahead of time, so you have kind of an understanding of where you're going to go. But I'm excited because I don't know what you're.
Do I remember anything that I
Probably
thought
not.
about? Probably not.
Probably not.
It's okay.
Probably not.
Let's start with number one.
Okay.
What habit or mindset would you like to let go of this year? And what year is this for you?
Ooh, great question.
Great question. Love to tell you.
I'm turning 34.
Yes.
Oh, it's a weird number because you're kind of getting into mid 30s instead of early 30s, and you're like
Instead of barely 30s. Yeah.
okay, we're here, firmly in here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about this amongst ourselves, but I feel like it started, last year, and I'm continuing to work on it this year. But just the idea that something has to be, quote, successful to be worthwhile. I feel like I've been working on shedding that kind of mindset. And just that, it can be successful to you personally without being, meeting maybe a more expected standard of successful. And I've just found, that some things I am finding them fulfilling, even if they're not, growing at a rate that maybe someone thinks that it should, or if it's a venture that it turns out is not going to be, necessarily make money off of something. But that doesn't mean that it's not worth my time. That doesn't mean that it's not successful, that it's not an important part of my life. And so just maybe evaluating things a little bit differently.
Yeah. That leans into your need for productivity, I think. Yeah, it makes sense.
And then you don't have those exterior goals that you're trying to reach that maybe weren't meant to be had in that moment. It's no, that's not really for me. That's not where I'm headed.
Yeah.
So it really puts you in the right track and perspective for your job.
Yeah.
Love that. If you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be? I'm so curious.
Typically, I don't like questions like that because they just feel overwhelming, and I'm I don't know. But for whatever reason, it came to me very quickly, and I think I've just been. I feel like there's been a lot of overlap in these types of questions because they've been on my mind lately. But immediately, I was like, I wish I could go back and tell my younger self at 12, 16, 21 that. There are a lot of the defining moments that you're going to look back on in your life are really small moments where it was more about a mindset shift or being able to let go of something that was burdening you. Those types of things are going to be the more pivotal moments. And there are so few decisions that are really make or break.
That's the scariest part when you're younger too. You're like, oh, this is gonna be everything.
It felt like in so many stages, from everything of what college am I going to go to am I going to pursue this job, or just so many things like that. Not that they don't matter, and they don't deserve, a thoughtful consideration, but I'm going to be okay whether I choose A or B. I think I just carried around so often, if if I don't say yes to this, or if I don't pursue this opportunity, like
I'm going to lose
that's
it
going to
all,
be
or-
it. Like there's not going to be another one
Yeah.
that comes, and everything could be riding on this. And it just isn't. It's not, it doesn't have to be that burdensome. And you know, I always go back to when I was in college, I had an opportunity to study abroad, and I chose not to study abroad because I had done an internship, and they kept wanting me to like stay on and do more. And then when I looked back, I was like, man, I could have studied abroad and come back, and they still would have taken me back. And you know, my career did not rest on that little internship. It wasn't really that, you know, dramatic and big of a deal. So yeah, kind of knowing that whether you do something or don't do something, or whether you get the win or don't, like there's always going to be some other type of opportunity around the corner, and to just, you know, take it easy.
Yeah, it's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay.
No, that's so good. I had a similar answer, which I will save for my birthday,
Your
probably.
birthday.
Yes.
But I do feel like there might be a common thread of, if you could tell yourself one thing, it would be like, spend time a little less anxious, a little less stressful.
Yes.
Right?
That all that time
I don't know if you would
worrying.
agree
I was
with
like,
that too.
do it afraid.
Oh,
So like,
yeah,
ignore
yeah.
it. Kind of like,
Take risks,
push
take
it
risks.
aside and just go for it. Like, almost like
There's
kind of an overlap.
I think there's a thread there with maturity comes this realization that, oh, like I spent so much time being stressed, anxious, or afraid about something, and I didn't need to.
And sometimes I feel like there's a lot of, again, from your circle, like people who, just as a kid, like you're in school, you're hearing so many people like, oh, well, you should be thinking about it. And it's hard to filter through all of that.
Yeah.
I know I mean, if you have your parents who are certainly helpful in that area, who are like, just like, don't worry about what they say. But if you don't have that, it's something that you're constantly, as a high schooler, especially like filtering through all of those words. And you're like, where am I supposed to go?
The reason I love that question, even though it is kind of a tough question to answer, but I love that because we will right now be a younger version of ourselves in 20 years. And I want to take that advice and apply it to myself
Even now.
right now. Like, I know that that's what I would say to myself. So I'm sure when I'm 50, looking back, I would say probably the exact same thing. So there's no need for us to be afraid, be anxious, be as stressed as we are. Describe a memorable experience from the past year.
Okay, so this one was really silly, but it's
And
just
if it doesn't include us, I'm walking out.
No, I'm just kidding. I feel like we've talked about so many of our memorable experiences. So this past summer, we had the opportunity to go to the Bahamas with my family, Miles, the kids, my parents, and some friends. And we had a blast. It was a beautiful, beautiful vacation, but we had this sort of little game that developed where there was a bank of 6 elevators, and there were 6 of us. And so every time we were going somewhere, to the pool, to lunch, whatever, we would all run to the elevators, and we would each pick an elevator.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Cute.
To see, like, be in a competition to see, you know, who was, and the kids thought it was the best thing ever.
That's great.
Perhaps, like, I think it was actually a vacation highlight
That's
for them.
so
Remember the
funny.
elevators?
Yeah,
Remember the
elevator game.
elevators?
They like just brought it up recently. We went to the doctor's office, and there were 2 elevators. Like, let's play the elevator game.
So
core memory.
sweet.
And yeah, I don't know why that stuck out, but it
That
was
could
just
last
like,
till they're like 15.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know.
it's just such a silly but simple thing that reminds you that even when you're in like paradise and it's beautiful, the things that are going to make you laugh, that are going to be memorable, are just like the simplest
Yeah.
things that don't cost you anything, that are going to be really joyful. And that's what kids are great for. That's what they remind you of, that they really need so little. They just want your time and to be having fun. And that those are the things that they're going to remember more than the spectacular things that you spend so much time planning and trying to give you, or trying to give them. So yeah, just
it's like the cardboard
being
box.
reminded, like,
That's what I was thinking.
thinking back to that brings me so much joy of like how happy we were over something so stupid and silly. And yeah, just trying to be more mindful of those moments and soak them in.
So sweet.
So cute.
So sweet.
What's one thing you've learned about yourself this year?
Okay.
Just one.
Just one. So I forget if I feel like I brought this up at some point, but I feel like the first part of this lesson started during COVID, where I had the realization when we were sort of like past COVID that just because you stop doing things or take things off of your plate doesn't mean you have more time. And I realized that, where I thought like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have all the time in the world because so many things I'm being forced to stop. And that didn't happen. Like I just thought, oh my God, I'm going to like organize every single drawer and every closet, you know, because I'm just going to be sitting home with nothing to do. And that didn't happen. Like it just immediately things got added. And so that was like the first part of the lesson of like, oh, I thought that this was just, I was just going to open up and be like, I have all this extra time. Fast forward to this past year, we decided to do this crazy thing. And that made me realize that you can make time for things.
Yeah.
If you really want to do something, the
It's gonna
world's
happen,
not going to stop and open up, because even when the world does literally stop, your time doesn't open up. But if you really want to do something and you make the commitment, you can make the time. Because if someone had said to me like, you know, you're going to start, you know, filming a YouTube channel, I'd be like, I don't have time for that.
Yep. That's so good.
And I feel like I say that all the time about so many things of like, I don't have time for that. But I have learned about myself, if I put it on the calendar, there will be time to carve out. And it does make a really big difference when you're being accountable to other people.
Yeah.
Because we're doing this venture together. So it's not just as easy as like, oh, I'm just not going to do that today. It's like, nope, we all work together. We all put this time on the calendar. We are going to make this work. And yeah, I'm hoping that in this coming year that I can apply that on a smaller scale and push myself a little bit to when I say I don't have time for something. It's like, well, I'm choosing not to make time for that. So is it something that I really want, or is it just something that I want to complain about?
That's really
it's a big difference.
It's really
there.
honest.
Yeah.
Actually, like, no kidding. Actually. Oh, next, here we go. What is the best thing about this age?
So I feel like I think I was thinking about your last question and this question kind of around the same time. And by far the best things about this age are how fulfilling the little and insignificant things are. Whereas definitely in my 20s, I think I was still, you know, you're chasing the highs. You're chasing the next big thing. You still feel like I need this win to feel validated, or I need something exciting to happen, or I need a big vacation or a big gift or a big part, you know, like just something to keep you going. And I think with the way my life timeline sort of panned out, it was a little bit of this weird feeling of like, what in the world is my 30s going to be? Because everything happened in my 20s. Like I did all of the major life milestones. I mean, I remember being 21 and feeling like, oh boy, I really just packed a lot in the last 6 months. I'm like, I'm graduating college. I got engaged. I'm planning a wedding. I'm getting into grad school. Like, whoa, I'm not saving myself very much to be excited about, you know?
Yep.
Then I ended my 20s. I was 30 when I had my second kid, and I knew we were kind of done with that. And, you know, then we bought our house and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so I was kind of like, oh, then it's just like, you feel like the rest of your life stretched ahead of you.
Yeah.
And it's weird because when you become a parent, it's like, okay, this is like about to be very much not about me.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to be living my life, you know, just for my kids,
for somebody else,
you know, for somebody else, and to help their dreams come to fruition and all of that. And so you think that you're going to maybe feel a little let down and disappointed and like bummed out. And I don't feel that way at all, you know? And it's just like, when I think I told you guys on Polo the other night, like when I was like, oh my God, I have a Friday night at home with nothing to do. Like I am savoring this. So it's just a lot of the little moments of like watching my kids dance in the kitchen or getting to, you know, do something with my husband or whatever it may be that feel really deeply satisfying in a way that even the big wins didn't, because they were fleeting. And this just feels like is more sustainable. Like you can have these small moments every day and you're not going to run out of them. So yeah, that's been the best part about this age.
Love that. I love it.
Okay. What is your favorite thing to do when you feel happy or excited?
This was easy. Eat.
Celebrate with eating.
Eat something delicious. Followed by a trip to Marshall's.
Okay.
And or TJ Maxx.
And
or Home Goods.
Easy. That's really all I need in life is give me some delicious pasta or Cinnabon.
Amen.
I love all of these
something
words.
Amazing and throw some shopping in there. And that's what I want to do to mark something exciting or good day.
That's great.
Love that.
Easy
peasy. Moving on.
We're low maintenance. What is one thing you want to invest in or nurture in the coming year?
So the first thing that came to mind when I read that question was, I feel like, so kind of going off of what I was just saying, where my life has sort of like plateaued in a good way, where it's like there's not like a next big milestone. It's just like, okay, we're in this rhythm now and we're doing life and enjoying the small moments. I feel like a lot of my closest friends are having really big moments or working towards really big life milestones, but all different. Whereas some are like, ready, buying a house, some are starting a family, some are, focused on a big job transition. Other friends are like, their kids are going off to college and they have more time. So I would like to focus more on just being a supportive friend to all of my closest friends and just showing up for them more than just like, I'm thinking of you and I love you and I know that you know that. But just finding more tangible ways to let them know, like, I'm here, I'm supporting you, I'm still doing life with you. Just finding a way to manage that, which is hard when your friends are at such different phases and stages of life and things are happening so fast. But just making it a priority to find those touch points with each of them to be a part of their journeys and whatever's happening in their lives.
Do you think that is a little bit easier because of the age of your kids now? Or do you still feel like, no, it's work. Like we're not necessarily like it's something easy, but you desire to do that? Or do you feel like your circumstances have kind of helped you now ease into that a little bit?
I think that I am gaining a little bit more like ability to do that because of the ages of my kids. I feel like pre-kids, I did have a lot more space and time to be writing people cards all the time or like just showing up and be like, yeah, I can help you move and I can, so I feel like I'm getting back to a point where things are, being like, okay, I can manage a little bit more now. But at the same time, I still feel like, oh my gosh, the days and weeks go by so fast that if I'm not really intentional about it, it's gonna be like, oh my God, 3 months passed when I meant to reach out and do this, and now it's like,
no, that is
quarter of the year's gone.
That is so true. Even like the process of putting a bid on our house and then the closing, that felt like we blinked. It felt like we blinked and it happened. And I mean, we could apply that to every other area of life too. Probably from when you found out you were pregnant to giving birth, that probably felt like it went like that.
So fast.
When you get engaged to when you get married, it goes like that. Like it goes so fast. And we always say like the time is moving so fast. So don't like put it off. Don't put off like showing up for somebody and saying like that time span is going to be very fleeting. It's going to be so fast.
Yeah.
So I definitely resonate with that. For
and
sure.
It's still different than pre-kids. Like I can't just drop everything
Sure.
and go, because it's like, well, I do have to pick my daughter up from school and help her with homework and cook dinner. And so you still are very tied. But I just feel like, okay, I really am missing those touch points and want to do more of that.
So good.
Yeah.
I think
All
we have
right.
one more.
One more. What are 3 things you are grateful for this past year? So a little bit of looking back.
1, 2, 3.
My outfit 3.
1, 2.
I think I actually did. What did I write down? Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so my first thing I'm not going to spend much time on because we've talked about this in previous episodes, but this past year was, I think, for all of us, weirdly, but a year of girlfriends and getaways.
Yeah.
Like we just had so many opportunities, whether it was extravagant or low key, to spend a night or a weekend or whatever it is, like going big and celebrating and having fun and making that a priority. And when I look back at the last year, like that jumps out at me, like that there were so many moments that I'm very, very grateful for, because that felt like such a gift to be able to fit that in. My second thing was that we are more than halfway through kindergarten, and that was a really big deal for us. I was very, I don't know if nervous is the right word, but I guess a little bit of nervous, a little bit of dread, honestly, that it was going to disrupt our lives and force us to be on this schedule and just, change a lot of things that I didn't want the change. And it was really smooth.
Yeah.
And Avery adapted wonderfully and just really enjoyed it. And I've gotten to be a part of it as a class parent. And I'm grateful that it was such a smooth transition and that I really have no complaints.
Good.
It's good.
It's all good. Nice.
It's all good. It's not as stressful. It's not as much as a burden. Now when Grayson's goes,
We don't know what to expect
I
there.
don't really know what to expect. And the third thing, sorry, I'm going to be so mushy, but I am very grateful for my husband this year. I mean, I'm always grateful for him, but sorry.
Just kidding.
Not you
Wait,
guys.
I was hoping she was going to Miles. You were devastated. That face.
I knew it wasn't coming, but I was like,
I mean,
Rebecca.
and my work
get our husbands who have been so supportive of this whole thing. Obviously, he comes first before me. Duh.
I felt like you guys were too obvious. I was like, I can't
know.
put you on the list. It's like, all right, whatever.
Oh, man,
I
we're
really-
a list on our own.
But
It's
I feel
fine.
like my husband,
Yes.
especially in this past year, has just stepped it up
a
in
little
all
bit
of the ways. I've
selfless
been
right now.
sick so much in the past year that he has had to play mom and dad and caretaker, and he's really done it all without any complaint and done it really well and carried a lot of burden. He's had more to do for work than ever before, and he has carried that burden, and he is an amazing dad, and always finding energy and time to play with our kids after a really exhausting day. And I feel like also somehow finding time to be a better husband and make me feel so loved and seen, and doing all the sappy stuff and making sure that he has a gift or telling me I look beautiful or whatever it is. So I'm just
Sentiment is
really
there.
grateful that, almost 12 years in, that I can say it's better than it was.
Crazy. Remember that lipstick way back when?
Way back when.
It's almost
The
gonna be
lipstick
12 years
that
old.
started it all.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, nothing really. It's all pretty standard cheesy stuff to be grateful for, but it's the truth.
It's still nice hearing that, because sometimes we think oh, I'm not going to say that because that's
Yeah.
everyone knows that. But again, as we've learned, some people like hearing those words and need that as affirmation there. So it is still it's beautiful to hear that.
So sweet. It's so sweet.
I can take a
You can
big
breathe.
exhale
You
now.
can breathe.
It is a little
You feel like you're being interviewed?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first question I was like, so
And I can't decide. I mean, obviously, it's it's probably better to have the questions ahead of time so you can be thinking about it. But then sometimes like something will come to my mind immediately and then I'll be like, I hope I remember to say that, or, you know, but then I feel like if I didn't have any heads up at all, my brain would just go totally blank and I'd be like, I don't know anything about my life.
I love being on this end of the couch asking people, because I just always feel like I get to know you a little bit more. And I know you pretty well.
Yeah.
Like at this point, I know you pretty well, probably too much. Let's be honest. I know your husband's probably too well too. Like we all know each other. Like we're just in each other's lives so much, and still we find out new things about each other. That's why I love it.
And I think when you're, you know, so now Rebecca and I have been through it. You have a little bit of time before you have to answer your questions, but I do find, because we talked about when it was your birthday of like, you know, will these questions be easier to answer next year because we are getting in more of a habit of being reflective about things. But it also, for me, kind of sparked me to be like, what do I want to be able to say next year?
Yeah.
And like, how can I do that? How can I build my life this next year to get to those things?
That looks.
Well, I'm just thinking, because this was an unintentional way that we, if you remember all the way back, this may have been week 1 of Girls Trip.
Okay.
And we were doing it was like resolutions, but like New Year's.
It was like 12 steps to your best
12 steps to your best year. Yeah. Right. Go. We'll put that there for, we'll link that in the next video for you to watch. Like that was one of them, is to be more reflective.
Exactly.
So these questions for all of our birthdays, I think we're doing that unintentionally.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We're at least doing one of those 12 steps.
Check.
Oh, so good. We promise that'll be the last time you have to talk so much this week.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Find out.
We'll find out. Not saying anything else. Thank you so much for joining us again for Lauren's birth week. Tomorrow is a very special day.
Yes, it is. Tomorrow it's official.
It's official.
It's official. 34. We're so excited for you to be with us on this journey. Like, subscribe, and comment. And don't forget to enjoy the view wherever your ride takes you.